Join Dalton and Jacob as they discuss the ever-changing world of trading card games. TCG Buzz starts now.
What's up, guys? It's Jacob. This feels weird. From TCG Buzz, I'm never the one who intros. Dalton's not here today. Instead, I have Christian joining me.
Oh, hi. I'm here.
And appearing for the first time on the TCG Buzz podcast, we have Bryce.
Howdy, neighbor.
You've been on officially one video before this, a rather awful, terrible, no good, very bad match.
Yeah, it was very, very lopsided.
Yep. And by that, we mean I won.
You believe that, but the
I
squad got
won.
you. No. Those two gunted knuckles got you, man.
Okay.
Oh.
So we are talking about Dragon Ball today, specifically about Set 3.
I'm excited, are you?
I am very excited. So we're going to be going over some of the key cards from Set 3 that we like. We're also going to be going over all of the SRs. And we are also going to talk briefly about what the set in its entirety means for the game. And we're going to start with that. So first of all, there have been a couple changes to the game because of this set. Particularly, the first one is super combos.
Yes, they added the keyword super combo to the set 1 cards of Boost Attack Piccolo, Divine Aid Vados, the Trunks Protector of Children, and Dodoria, the Emperor's Attendant.
You remembered their full names. Nice.
It kind of helps when you go through the Dragon Ball Gatherer.
Yep. So all 4 of them have had super combo added to them. As well, we've got some new alternatives to them, which also have super combo. And super combo states that you can have no more than 4 copies of cards with super combo in your deck. If you've ever played Vanguard, it's exactly the same as Sentinel.
It's similar to how Ultimate works, where you can have 1 copy of it in the entirety of your deck.
It's to prevent you from building a deck and like, I've got 4 Boost Attack Piccolos and 4 of the new guy.
Right.
So that's really cool. I like that we're getting alternatives, first of all. And I like that they're keeping it balanced.
Mm-hmm. And I did like that they addressed this ahead of time.
Yes, that is also cool. Now, those erratas don't actually take effect until the set officially drops.
March 9th.
Yep. But speaking of erratas, we got a quick thing we got to talk about involving everyone's favorite card.
Our Lord and Savior, Babidi.
So Babidi's been heavily errataed.
And if I may explain it to you, they changed the text that it's relatively intact, other than they added the extra requirement. You can only activate this effect if you have 6 or more red energy. My God, help us all.
So Bryce hates this, and he and I have already spent like half an hour discussing it. He hates it. I
literally
care.
spent the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks even, as soon as that GT Trunks was spoiled, to let the Memes Be Dreams deck combo out, and we eventually have 16 power on board. No, now we gotta shuffle around for another 9 years and wait till we have 6 or more red energy.
His dreams have been broken. I love Babidi and I play it.
Well, I'm still gonna play the deck. The deck's just gonna be trash now. It's no way competitive.
I play it in mono red, so I'm not really affected. Seriously, it was my honest opinion. Like, I don't care. I wasn't gonna use the Trunks combo really anyways.
No, you just hardcast Babidi at that point.
Yep. That's what I do. But that's probably a good thing for the game. Some people are kind of salty about it, but, you know, overall.
And honestly, probably my issue was a lot of people who were complaining about that card with the comboing with the Trunks was the fact that there's the same people who wanted to face against the starter coup deck and the Vegeta crit deck for another 9 years and never have the meta change.
I do kind of wish that they had like waited and given us just 1 week to play it that way. Like, just the first week after the set drops, just make it insane. Everyone playing Babidi for just 1 week.
I'd give it 1 event. I would give it 1 event to run amok, and if it's a problem, then change it.
Which it would be, but
I actually don't think it would have been.
I mean, the deck has one weakness: our Lord and Savior, Cold Bloodlust,
which, by the way, also got an errata alongside Crusher Ball, and it involves time windows.
What?
Yeah, but if you guys are curious about the erratas, look on the official Gather site yourself.
Oh, we do have one more errata I want to mention, and that's because it's on a card that hasn't even come out yet. Hercule got errated because he would be bust.
Yes, because there was a big debate, and people keep overlooking the all-important bracket if your leader is Majin Buu.
So the problem, though, was the period. The period almost, because of like rulings on Mecha Frieza and whatnot, made it seem like there were two separate statements, which is the problem. All they had to do was take that little who would win, a complex game with years of R&D that has a diverse meta, or one little dot boy.
Yes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has also had a lot of problems with wording issues.
So the issue with it is with currently how it's written and how cards are supposed to be interpreted. If you played it in Majin Buu, you would essentially be recycling 2 energy. Whereas if you're not playing it with Majin Buu, the first part would not trigger of putting 2 cards back into, to drop or deck? I forget.
It was back to your deck.
Yep. And then top deck 2 into energy. But the problem is, under current rulings, the second part would still happen, so you just play him, gain 2 energy. Broke. So they did already fix that.
Yeah, because now it's all one slew part of the effect. You cannot do part B without part A.
All right, so overall, before we get into all the cards, I want to do something kind of fun. We've seen everything from the set, pretty much. Let's each rate the set, just on a personal rating from 1 out of 10. Or 1 to 10,
Do you want to go first on this?
No, I'm going to make Christian go first.
I'll give it a 7.
You give it a 7?
Yeah.
Bryce?
I know this may sound a little harsh, but I'm probably going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. And the reason stating is like a lot of the commons and uncommons feel very underwhelming, and a lot of the power is mainly in like the super rares or higher. And even then, a lot of them seem extremely underwhelming, especially Fu. I pity the Fu Shrouded.
We'll get to him.
Oh, man.
So I'm actually going to give it a pretty high rating, believe it or not. I'm going to give it an 8 because I like the fact that it's really bringing yellow back and red. Yellow and red both got some good stuff in this when they're kind of neglected in set 2. And, they didn't make blue even more busted, really. They gave them a few tools, but it felt more reserved than the last 2 sets.
I would kind of have to disagree on the red part. Set 2 did bring red to the spotlight, but unfortunately, it was mainly, once again, in like the super rares.
It was Gohan and Jiren. Gohan and Jiren, the only reasons that red was playable in set 2.
Although, to be fair, though, Kaba is a very scary card, and he's been available since set 1. We've just been waiting for the right time for him to shine, and Lord and behold, now he has.
All right, so we're going to now go into the SRs, and we're going to rapid fire go through all 14 of them and just give our thoughts on them and whether they're worth their salt or not. We're also going to take a quick guess at which ones of them are going to be expensive. All right, so we're going to go through in the exact order they are listed on the official website. So that means starting with red. And we're starting with Victorious Fist. Oh my god, that's hard to say. Victorious Fist Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku. A 6-drop with 3 red. That is EX Evolve, which is new. EX Evolve. It's basically normal Evolve, but from a discard from hand, which is good. It's really quite strong, and it almost feels like it could have been its own block. You know how this is like the overrun block? They could have saved it and made it its own block too. But going on, it's got EX Evolve for 1 and place a Son Goku GT of 5 or more and Evolve. Yeah. And then it's got Double Strike and auto once per turn. When this card attacks, switch this card to active mode and gains +5.
So what are your thoughts on the card?
I suppose I'll go first. So honestly, I can summarize it pretty easily because it does restand with a +5 and it's got Double Strike. So immediately it brings comparison for me to Jiren. And he's a worse, much worse Jiren that has a chance of being played for much less than Jiren.
Well, and that's where I kind of have to disagree with you on that a little bit. Jiren has his role in the game as to try to end the game, but also he tries to get rid of pesky monsters in your way that you need that little extra reach for, which Toppo was a great addition in the set, which we'll probably discuss at a later date. But the thing is, it also has pseudo dual attack. That thing hits for 4. And on the second set of damage, it gains another 5,000. So he goes from 25 to 30,000. The thing is extremely hard to win against in the combo race, especially because people don't care about taking a life, and especially for crit, mind you. But when it starts to get to double strike, triple strike, and all beyond that,
Dual double.
A lot of people will tend to throw away their hand to try and not take the damage, because at that point, we're basically reaching the end of the game. And he's good at ending the game.
I don't see much justification for running him over Jiren, personally. Christian?
I mean, if you're only playing just the new deck style, I mean, you're new to the game. You don't have access to the old cards for some reason, and you're just like, I want to make a deck around Goku GT because Goku GT is like my favorite character, quote unquote. You know, let's put it like that. And you just build a deck around Goku GT and just smack your opponent, I guess, with it.
At the very least, he might be, because I don't think he's going to be that expensive, to be honest. He might end up being a really good budget alternative to Jiren.
I do think he would be like a solid 2 of in the deck, especially if you're not running Babidi, because he ends the games the second he hits the board.
I mean, you're calling this for 1 red mostly. Like, you're going to try and push for the EX evolve anyway to at least try and push for game, right?
His biggest downside is you're mainly just going to be hard casting him, because there's pretty much only like, what is it, 1 or 2 ways to EX evolve him right now?
Probably, yeah. Maybe you use another copy of himself, if anything.
Right.
Sucks.
There are a couple ways, but not enough. And here's the thing. I think if you play him with the ZX evolve, he's definitely worth it. If you play hard cast him from hand, no.
I do not believe like that he's the worst of the bunch, but I do feel like he does have a future in the game. He just needs to find the right home.
He's like a middle of the road card right now, though.
He's a good mid-range card.
I do like his auto skill, though. That pseudo dual attack is pretty good.
All right, so next we have Fearless Pan, who's a 3-drop, 2 requirements of red, with blocker. Nice, right? With 15k. So a 15k blocker is fine. With a new keyword called Barrier.
It's essentially the magic equivalent of hexproof.
It's good. I like it. It's a good keyword. Very strong, especially since removal's kind of prevalent right now. So that's appreciated, especially on a blocker, when there's tons of stuff out there that gets rid of blockers. And then when you play this card, choose all of your other red leader cards and battle cards, and they get +5 in double strike.
I like how it says all your other leader cards.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're planning to do.
2 of them. So first of all, the barrier blocker on a 15k for 3 is cute, but you're playing it for that second skill.
Yes.
I like to compare cards to other ones, and the 2 comparisons that I immediately thought of when I first saw it were 1, the 5-drop rare Go Tanks from set 2, but 2, the big one it reminded me of actually was set 1's SR Ginyu, where it's just a field buff to the whole field, and you're just playing it to push for game.
Yeah, you're buffing the squad for game.
Yep.
And she does it at a much lower cost, thank God for that. And she combos out nice. But realistically, I feel like the blocker is kind of a waste on this red card, because the second you play this card, it's game time. You're going for the dome.
I do like that. It's like she's doesn't know what she wants to be. She's 50% super aggro push for game card, but I almost feel like the barrier and blocker are just there. I mean, barrier is there, so she can't be cold bloodlusted.
And the nice thing about her, too, is that once Babidi starts going off on his little storm count, heaven forbid we get the 6 red, that if she comes into play, then your Babidi that also came into play gets bigger and also gains double strike.
Activate Babidi, call 2 of her.
Yeah. So they can't double strike twice.
I feel like the blocker's really only there in case your push for game doesn't work. Say they like sense you out of it or something that just shuts the
It
push
gives
for
the
game
card
out.
utility.
Overall, though, I think she's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Christian,
I would play 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 would tap it again.
I know we've got one to go over still, but I think it's fair to say she is the best red SR.
Yes.
And she's super splashable, doesn't require like a Goku leader or something, or a Pan leader or anything like that. Red, best card for red.
Yes.
Then our last red SR,
Oh, yes, the worst one.
Meta Rildo, form perfected. He's a 7-drop for red with EX Evolve for 1 and discarding a General Rildo of 5, which I believe there are only 2 of right now. There's 1 and himself.
No, the other one's a 3-drop.
I'm pretty sure there is 1.
The only one is the 5-drop General Army Rildo, because the 3-drop is Union Absorb.
Right. No, but I'm saying the 5-drop counts, and this card we're reading right now counts. So you've got 2 targets for the EX
God.
Evolve.
Why would you do that to yourself?
It has double strike and activation main, place 1 planet M2. That's a field spell. Don't worry about it right now. From hand or battle area into the drop area, draw 2, then choose your opponent's leader card, and it loses 5,000 power, debuff, and then choose all of your opponent's battle cards, and they lose 10,000 for the duration of the turn. So we have very divided opinions on this card, Bryce and I. So we're going to let Christian go first.
Yeah, good
Oh,
idea.
Lord, help.
Because if Bryce and I go first, we're just going to argue about it back and forth, and Christian's never going to get to talk.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let me see the EX Evolve. I mean, if it later on it gets more targets, I guess it's more playable. Pretty decent skilling. I mean, you can get rid of your M2, draw 2, debuff your opponent and your stuff. As long as you're not getting like screwed over with a counter, I guess it's okay. But you have better cards to play than this probably.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You guys have fun now. I'm gonna go get myself a drink.
Rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I don't know if it's on camera or not, but rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
You guys.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, Bryce is going first.
All right, so I'm kind of like torn on this card because like 90% of the cards in this game, they just slap the good old double strike lazy stamp on it and call it a day. But for its cost and for what you have to pay to get this thing going, it doesn't feel worth it. I feel like I already know we talked about how fantastic Jiren is doing right now. I'd rather play Jiren over this card. There's a million different cards I would rather play over this card. Granted, if you played probably like a mid-range blue-red Mech Frieza list where you just ramp to 7 and then just go from there, then it might find a home, but at best, it just there's better cards. You could play Destructive Terror Champa over this card. Crying out loud. And it's easier to cast, mind you. But I do see the promise for the card. I just feel like it's overcosted and very underwhelming for what it does. And it would be a good rare. I just don't think it's worthy of a super rare.
All right, my turn. I like this card. It definitely has problems. Problem number 1 is you don't have enough targets for the EX Evolve. And it's a lot like the Goku we talked about before. It's a lot better when you EX Evolve with it. So the best thing about this card, though, for me, the reason why it makes it such an interesting card is synergy. Because it synergizes like crazy. Remember, we just talked about Pan. Pan and this thing go hand in hand. If you could get them out together, say turn 4, turn 5, you can EX Evolve, slap it down, and you can play down Pan. You're just given a buff of +5 and double strike to your board and a -5 to the leader. So you're essentially +10ing everything, which is kind of ridiculous. But there are other ways to do that. But it also combos with cards like Set 2's Gohan, which gets frighteningly scary with this thing. It also makes Jiren even better. But once again, that's setup you have to do before you get this on the board. But I see its potential. The two things that need to change to make it really, really, really good, though, are one, we need more cards for it to EX evolve with. I think we agree on that.
Honestly, if its other effect was to give all your opponent's battle cards minus 15,000 instead of 10,000, I would see it being more worthy of a super rare. But 10,000 is very underwhelming for a super rare.
I don't know. I think it's fine. Two, it would be cool if we get a way to search out Planet M2 or whatever. Just to make that ability consistent. Because I remember when we talked earlier, your big issue with it was, you need that Planet M2 to even use the skill.
Yes.
Which is certainly a problem.
Because at most you get 4 uses and that's it.
But I mean, as a plus, Planet M2 is super easy to get out, so it's not too bad.
Just take a life.
All right, so next card. We're moving on from red. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I believe the next one is blue.
Yes. Ultra Instinct. Sign.
Son Goku.
Son Goku.
Okay.
All right, 7-drop, 3 blue, or EX evolve for 2 by placing a blue Son Goku of 5 or more into drop. With triple strike and permanent, your opponent cannot combo for the duration of this card's battle. And when a card evolves into this card, return all of your opponent's battle cards to their hand. Okay, so let's start with the EX evolve and break it down from there. So the EX evolve is probably, of all the EX evolves we're getting, the easiest to pull off. Because there are so many 5-drop or higher Gokus. Right? In blue.
Are we talking about playable ones, or are we just talking about ones?
I mean, there are a couple that are playable. And then there's him himself, which counts. There's a decent number. It's pretty easy to get off, I'd say.
It depends on what you're pissing to the wind for him. The easiest ones being said is the Dash Pack, the Dash Pack Goku. I forget exactly his name, but you evolve him for 3, and he gains crit if you take a life.
Right.
But it's easy to cheat him out, so it's still playable.
It's pretty easy to play, and even if you're hard casting it for 7, it's good. It's really good. So the fact that your opponent can't combo is on a triple striker. And it bounces all their battle cards, so goodbye, blockers. This is a game ender that's Beerus tier.
I would still say Beerus is probably the better game ender, although I still like him as a card immensely, even just hard casting it. Triple Strike can't combo. Your opponent literally has to have a negate for this card, or otherwise they just die. Mm-hmm. And seeing as how a lot of the decks out there are very greedy with their life totals, it's very easy to see this card just turn 3 kill somebody consistently.
It's very good. Christian?
I love this card because I play an Evolved Goku deck. So it just makes the deck even better and gives me an alternate win condition to my deck. I can have, because I usually have Beerus as my alternate win condition, and I have the Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku from the trial deck as my main win condition.
Is he a 5-drop?
I always did like that card.
Is he a 5-drop? Or
yes,
a 4-drop?
he is.
Yep. So he does work for this. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a great card already.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 and playing this out, I don't have to play the quote unquote the 6-drop. That's a 7. You evolve for 6 on the Son Goku, but I probably just replace that with this guy because it's easier to call out and it's a better win condition to help me out. I'm not saying that I wouldn't play the other Super Saiyan Blue Son Goku.
I would not be surprised if this card ends up being one of the more expensive SRs. Because I think a lot of people are going to want to run it in their blue decks. I mean, and it's a pretty decent replacement for Beerus.
The potential is there.
Yeah. All right, so next one?
If I may.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
The Ultimate Evil Majin Buu. It costs 7 energy with a minimum of 3 blue energy. The The combo cost is 1 for 10,000, like any other boss monster. It has EX Evolve for 1 blue. You place 2 cards from your hand into the drop area on top of a Majin Buu with an energy cost of 5 or more, and then you place it on top of the specified card. It has triple strike, so it punches hard. And then when a card evolves into this card, doesn't matter how, switch this card to active mode. It gains 30,000 power for the duration of the turn. I'm super excited for this card.
So it's negate or die. Again, but in a very different way.
This card was the cornerstone, like Plan B for my Memes Be Dreams deck before, rest in peace, our Lord and Savior Bobbity. That I feel like is probably going to become more of Plan A now, because with a card that I'm going to be talking about later, and from set 2, the red card, the Awakening Evil Majin Buu, is a way to search this card onto the field after attacking with said Buu, especially if you have a panda hit with double strike. You untap him, then he gains 30,000 more, and then you just dome your opponent's face for another
60k triple strike plus comboing. It's negate or die, really.
It's just good luck blocking that shit.
So yeah, I do think the Goku that we just went over, you know, it's the same normal cost, so you kind of have to compare them, is probably going to be a little bit more consistent as a finisher, because, you know, it can do things like get rid of blockers and whatnot. But, I mean, if you need to just power over your opponent's hand...
It goes very tall.
Yeah.
And I do like him mainly because of there's 2 really good ways to getting him out, is the Dawn of the Rampage Majin Buu, which we'll get to later, and from set 2, the Evil Awakening Majin Buu, that actually states that it gets a Majin Buu with 2,500 or more power from your deck on top of this card.
Are we ready to move on? Or do you have any final thoughts, Christian?
I don't want to get hit with this card.
No.
I don't want to see it swing at my face.
All right.
Next up, we're into...
I will cover the next 3 if you mind, because I feel like he should get a turn as well.
Oh, okay. We'll do it in splits?
Yes. So for our second one, we go into the green section now. Hyper Rush Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. It's a 7-drop with 2 green minimum in its cost of the typical boss monster stats of 1 and 10,000. And he has Union Potara for 5. So you place Son Goku and Vegeta-sama from your field under this card, and then you play this card in active mode. Triple strike, so it once again hits hard. And when you play this card, if your leader card is Vegito, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and up to one of the cards in your opponent's hand. Place them in the drop area, then draw 2 cards. Then you may choose up to 2 cards in your life and add them to your hand.
So, I'm mixed on this card.
I feel like I understand what they're trying to do with this card, but I feel sort of underwhelmed by it.
I think the issue is that Vegito already has like 2 or 3 amazing cards they could play rather than playing this.
The secret rare is more appealing to play than this card, because the second that card hits the board, your opponent's dead.
So is the red SR. Like, that thing can swing up to 100k.
Well, that, and there's ways to cheat it in the fight.
Plus, you know, there are times where you're not going to be able to play this, you know, with its ultimate skills, because you won't be able to take 2 damage, which is what you want to do, and just throw those cards onto your combo on him as a finisher.
And plus, the Vegito deck is kind of basically plays similar to a ramp-style deck that Mecha Frieza already just goes way over the top of him, and you just play better cards than Mecha Frieza, which is kind of depressing, really.
Yeah.
I just feel like Vegito just needs another oomph to really get going.
I think Vegito might need something. I don't think they need any more finishers or big boys. I think they need something more mid-range, and that's not what this is.
Yes.
That being said, this is such a cool card.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Christian?
I hope Dalton doesn't swing with this either.
Man, there's a lot of things you're scared of. It's going to be fantastic playing you at Frost's.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. All right. And here comes my favorite card of the super rares, especially since it's my boy.
When we first got our reveals for this, Bryce would not stop talking about this card.
No, never. We will make people miserable with the unending destruction Android 13 Look at my mana cost.
Look at my trucker hat.
Yep. He has, unlike the other ones, he has 30,000 power, so he's already beefy. And much like Broly, he's very hard to cast. He costs 7 with 4 green.
4 green.
Anything that's more than 3 of one color. Oh, man, that is the pits.
All I'm saying is thank God for Union Absorb.
Yeah. He has double strike, and this is where this card shines. When you play this card, your opponent chooses one of their battle cards and kills it. Then, when one of your opponent's battle cards is placed in the drop area from any area by any of your skills other than this one, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and places it in the drop area. This guy is the discard machine.
All right, so let's line this up. So step 1 with him, you play him hopefully via the Union Absorb of the other Android 13 and not paying him for full cost, right? Yeah. He enters the field, KOs a battle card. Interestingly, your opponent chooses.
I feel like if they have 2 cards on the field, it's not a great choice.
No. But, I mean, like, if they have a General of Demolition Beerus on the field and a 1-drop Majin Buu on the field, you know.
Right.
But they choose it, but it doesn't matter because immediately that will trigger the second part of the skill, forcing them to discard 1.
Yes.
And then you have to remember it's from any area due to one of your skills.
It goes great with your critical effects, with your discard effects. So I already kind of have like a list brewing up I will probably share on this channel later and my thoughts and opinions and thought process on it. But I feel like he will probably replace Broly, the Dawn of the Rampage, in the list just for the simple fact he's a better game ender. Granted, I will still play him as probably like a 2 of, but I feel like he's the overall better plan.
Christian?
I don't know. I feel like playing him like Android 13 and Cell Leader seems like a fun game.
It is. Especially since Cell's got that built-in KO a battle card by dropping souls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which makes his skill more consistent. So you can force him to discard again and again and again.
Yes.
And again, and
I
again.
do like how the Mech Frieza deck synergizes extremely well with this card, because then not only do you make your extra cards cheaper, but some of them do happen to be discard effects. So your Cell absorptions, your murder spell, the Enraged Awakening Son Gohan, very powerful cards, mind you, for what they do in that deck. And on top of the other cards that we will be discussing, yet once again, I feel like a broken record, discussing later on in this video that I'm super excited to talk about.
Really good, though.
Yes.
Really good. Though in a normal world, I'd say, oh, that's the best green. But we've got one more to talk about that might take that title.
Yes, I do 100% believe it takes the title. And I think this will be what gives Broly the edge to be a competitive deck. Yes, the set 1 leader Broly could actually be a competitive deck.
He's not actually joking, and he's not going off on a wild, crazy theory. No.
This is the dream team.
And not only that, it makes Christian happy.
It also makes me happy. I always wanted Broly to be good. All right. With the unstoppable ambition Super Saiyan Khalifa, everybody's favorite waifu, that is the low cost of 2 green, just a 2-drop, has 20,000 power, and a combo cost of 5,000.
Hang on. Did you just say a 2-drop with 20k?
Yes.
Hang on. Back up. Aren't 2-drop vanillas 15k?
She's thick. Very thick. Speaking of which, she has 2 very important permanent effects. Your battle cards cannot be KO'd by your own skills, nor can they be placed in the drop area by your own skills.
Oh,
and
look.
then when you play this card, choose 1 card from your life, add it to your hand for the low cost of 2.
All right, so where do we start? All right, let's just talk the body. Oh no.
Oh man, you just made a lot of DeviantArt
trouble.
fans happy.
All right. Ignoring the preventing of cards being placed in drop or KO'd, let's just talk 20k for 2 that self-damages 1.
And combos out easy.
already I'd play it.
Yes. And it goes hand in hand with the Dash Pack Kaba that cheats it into play.
Yep. Which is stupid. But we're not talking about him today. All right, so let's talk about the two big reasons you're going to use those two skills. And I think each of you should talk about one of them. Mm-hmm. You talk about Broly. You talk about Kale.
Oh, sure. I guess.
Christian first.
Oh, damn.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, having this on the field, I guess then you call Kale, and then Kale is just like, pop a card. And it's like, you can't pop a card on your field. So guess what happens to their opponent's field? It goes away. And you still have a field to, you know, swing with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then if you have, 4 less cards, draw a card with Kale.
Yeah. And the nice thing, too, about the card is, especially in Broly, you don't even need to play Broly's Ring, especially with the black cards coming out. Oh, man, I have to discard a card. Ooh. What's the downside? I fuel Delve. So we play Relentless Destruction Miras, and we play nothing but pure misery for our opponent.
All right, so can you explain why this card specifically interacts well with the Broly leader?
Because Broly has a trigger on his flip side that forces both players to sacrifice a card in the battle area.
Now, before, your only real good thing you could do with that was with Bio Broly, which was kind of clunky.
And even on top of that, you still had to sacrifice your ring. Granted, you didn't have to discard for that part, but the ring still kissed its keister goodbye.
This card's so good.
It is, and especially synergizes very well with your Kabas, your Kales, and overall just allowing Broly to build up a board presence, because the top of your curve in that deck is 4. You would still play energy just so that way you hold up like your counter magic and whatnot, and then you just outvalue your opponent.
All right, time to call it. Most expensive SR in the set.
Yes.
Yep. Get him early.
All right, Christian, if you would please cover the last 4.
I like how I start off with Bardock, like my favorite character in freaking Dragon Ball. Well, at least in the spin-off stuff.
And Masters was also my favorite Super Saiyan.
So we have Desperate Warrior Super Saiyan Bardock, a 7-drop for 2 yellow, and 1 for 10 for combo, and EX Evolve for 2. EX Evolve. Place 2 cards from your hand into the drop area. Yellow Bardock with energy cost of 5 or more, and place this card on top of that specified card. Permanent. If your opponent has 6 or more energy in rest mode, this card gets plus 5,000 power and triple strike. Auto, when this card evolves into this card, which always confuses me why it's worded like that, but I understand. Choose all of your opponent's battle cards and energy and switch them to rest mode. So it's a decent card if you get it off, to be honest.
You just need a good base form for him. Just a really, really good base form.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There's not a lot of Bardock yellow.
You have one base form that this can possibly go on top of.
Mm-hmm. And then there's himself you can discard for the same cost.
So
it's so close.
Here's the thing.
So close.
Here's my opinion. And I think actually a lot of people don't realize this, but here's what I'm going to say. If this card was in any other color, it would be awful. If it was a green, it would be awful. If it was a red, it would be awful. If it was a black or a blue, it would be an awful card. But it's not. It's in yellow. Yellow doesn't have very many finishers.
It doesn't have very many win conditions.
No.
And it's also a control type card, because yellow has been it's our control type decks, like heavy control.
The fact that you can tap out their energy if they're saving it for, I mean, holy cow, you can tap out anything, you know? Mm-hmm. They're going to go like, oh, I'm going to just save for my sensus or something. No, you're not. No, you're not.
It's very good for just blindsiding your opponent and just killing them that way, especially in Frieza Ape.
It's fun.
And I dubbed the deck the Planet of the Apes.
I'd still give it like a 5 out of 10, though.
I'd be a little easy on it. I'd say a solid 7, because I feel like the card has potential, especially down the road.
Also, by the way, you can play this early game just to have a a big body, like a 25k, if you can. So like, why not, right? I mean, you're losing on the.
You could also
resting.
play your apes too.
That too. You can just keep playing a bunch of apes until you get to this.
Although speaking of apes, here's another one that Christian will read off for us.
Spirit Son Goku. 3 drop for 2 yellow. Combo 0 for 5,000. He's a blocker. He has barrier. When you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO that card. At the end of your turn, switch this card to active mode.
I like it.
So you can literally combo this very well with the Bardock to just screw them over.
So I'm stuck on this card, though. And the part that gets me stuck on it, I like the blocker barrier combo. Always great, right? And the fact that it KOs a rest mode battle card synergizes well with the rest of yellow. And it's good. And he's only a 3-drop. And he combos out easily. Plus, 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 plus. Great, right? The last skill is kind of bizarre. And I would get it if he was a 15k.
He is a 15. Oh no, he's
a 10. He's a 10.
Oh god, that's so much worse.
Yes. What are you going to do with him for an attack?
Hopefully evolve into your damn dirty ape.
If you evolve him, or in order for him to do anything with that last ability, you're comboing, which is kind of bad. But if you just pretend that last ability isn't there and you never attack with him, he's really good.
Even if you don't attack with him with that keyword, still, it's a nice option to have. It's nice for getting rid of Kabbas in your way and pesky little blockers.
It's very situational, though. The rest of him, though, good. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Good.
Okay.
Your turn.
So we're moving on?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
And
hey, that was all the yellow cards.
So now we go into the black.
Our new color for this set.
Colorless.
Colorless, quote unquote. Super Saiyan 3, Bardock, Power Unleashed. He is a 5, no color, requirement. Combo of 1 for 10. Xeno Evolve for 5, Bardock Xeno. Play this card in active mode by sending the specified card from your battle area to the warp. He has triple strike. When this card evolves into this card, if your leader card is black, you may choose up to 5 cards from your warp. Place them into the drop area. If you do, send all of your opponent's battle cards into their warp. And he also has 30,000 power, which I did not read.
I like him.
So
he plays very well with the starter deck.
There are 2 different ways to play him, though. And everyone's going to immediately think, play it in the black leader deck for the field nuke, which is not bad. Right, though I think the Xeno Evolve is kind of a waste, to be honest.
Yes and no. It depends on what you're throwing it on top of.
Yep. The other part, though, the field nuke is great, and it sends them to warp, which is really cool because most decks can't do anything with that.
Yes.
But the alternative, remember, he's a black card.
Mm-hmm.
You could play him in any deck just as a 5-drop. Was it 30k?
Yes.
Triple striker. That's good.
It's not terrible, but I mean, I'd rather actually have the utility of the Xeno Evolve. Yeah. The only downside is there's not too many Bardocks right now to throw it on top of.
This one's a Bardock Xeno, so there's that too. You can't use a yellow Bardock.
There's literally just one right now, and that's the just good old double striker jobber.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
and we can't even use the Max Saiyan, even though we all know that's Bardock.
So he's not
because continuity problem.
He's not crazy good, but he's good. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
he's not broke.
I do like him.
It's a pretty balanced card.
Yes.
All right. So next one,
we have Trunks, Power Overseeing Time. He's a 20,000 power 4-drop. Combo of 0 for 5,000, and Overwhelm of 4 for 2. He has double strike. Auto, when you play this card using Overwhelm, choose 1 battle card and your warp and add it to your hand. So, hey, that's pretty good for if you're just warping all your cards.
You're warping your drop, so it's basically a revive or bring 1 back to hand from drop, which is cool. I think if this card had been a rare, it would be really, really good.
Yeah.
As an SR, it's a little underwhelming.
I feel like it kind of walks like a very thin line of it's not good enough to be an SR, but it's too powerful to be a rare, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the upside to that is if it were a rare, he would be an expensive and rare that you'd actually enjoy pulling. But now as an SR, you're like, no, I pulled a Trunks,
Yeah, it was like Gohan's before they were $8.
Reminds me a lot, like, he will be the bad pull for SRs. I do feel that. He's going to be your, SR cooler from set 2. He had
his month of being expensive.
He had his uses, but he's fine though, and I would not classify him as bad. A little underwhelming though.
Right.
So next one, Mira.
We got Dimension Breaker Mira. He's a 20,000 power, energy cost of 5, combo energy of 1 for 10,000. Xenoverse for 5. Mira, play this card in active mode by sending the specified card from your battle area to your warp. So double strike. Auto when this card evolves into this card, if you have 5 or more cards in your warp, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to your warp. Then if you have 10 or more cards in your warp, choose one of your opponent's energy and send it to their warp. Also, this card's an android. Their special trait, so keep that in mind.
He's an android. Oh no. Just be glad he doesn't have android in his name. Searchable with Jiro. Oh.
Although I do like him a lot because he's a very nice kind of like big man for the control strat, especially for the mess of cogs I'm trying to just fine tune. For the Mech Frieza deck, that's the hand destruction deck, because you could play the common from the set that makes him discard a card, then you Xenovolve it, make him lose a battle card and a life, all for the low cost of 5.
Let's talk about that Xenovolve. This is the easiest Xenovolve in the game right now. It is so easy to pull off because there are a lot of good Miras already.
And especially the crit one, too, on top of you just dome them for crit. Especially in like a kind of like a mid-range / aggro deck.
Plus, if you're say you're using the crit one and you call them via Overrealm, and you Xeno Evolve into this, you're no longer losing your battle card at the end of the turn, which is kind of neat. And I will always be in favor of energy destruction, and that's a little harder to get off, but that's okay.
It's not like the Goku Black from set 2 where it's tied specifically to a leader. It's good because it's universal.
And honestly, even if you don't pull off that part of the skill, it's a good card.
It is.
I'd say, without getting into spoilers of our last card, this is the best black card in the SR pool. All right, let's get to that last card.
Let's get to the worst card of the SR.
What do you mean worst card of the SRs? Worst card of the game.
I pity the fool shrouded in mystery.
I'm kidding. Honestly, the worst card in the game, just as a fun fact, it is the set 1 Supreme Kai's Attendant in red, a 10k that can't attack battle cards of 15 or more. That's the worst card in the game. This is close, though.
Yeah. Oh, man, you want to read off the most underwhelming boss monster ever?
So just like Bryce said, fool shrouded in mystery. He's a 10 drop. Combo energy of 1 for 10. He has 30,000 power, all right? Over a realm of 10. You pay 6, all right? Double strike, all right, good, right? Auto, when you play this card using Overwhelm, your opponent can't activate skills on cards other than their leader card until the beginning of your next turn. Jacob, take it away.
This card is awful.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to... Christian hadn't seen this card before this morning when I showed it to him.
Oh, you poor soul.
And your first impression was it's kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
Because it is kind of neat. It's a cool skill. But let's point out the 3 reasons this card is awful. Issue number 1, called Bloodlust. Sure, it's an issue for a lot of cards, but especially this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one, you're losing your chance to use any other Overrealm for the turn, pretty much. I mean, there are a couple exceptions, but you are, and you're tapping out most likely for it. That's not even considering the disastrous idea of hard calling it for 10. So that's issue number 1, right? Issue number 2, it's surprisingly slow because a lot of your boss cards are kind of slow, but in this case, you're not waiting for one thing to stockpile. You're waiting for 2. You need to ramp up to 6, which isn't too hard, but you also need to ramp your drop up to 10, which, sure, you're doing it in decks that can mill, but you're also doing it in decks that will probably be using other Overrealm cards, too.
And let's just take a look at it, even if you cast this for 6. I'd rather cast a Jiren.
Oh, that's number 3.
I'd rather cast freaking Rildo than this card, because Rildo is more productive than this pile of garbage.
You're not at paying 6 and an extra cost, which is really hard. You should be going for game.
Yes.
That is the only thing you're doing. If you're not going for game, you're playing the game wrong.
As much as I love Broly and how much harder he is to cast, I'd rather cast Broly yes. I'd rather hard cast quad green 6-drop Broly than this card.
I would rather hard cost cast the secret rare Vegito.
Yes, thank you. I'd rather cast the Zamasu, the 10-drop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'd rather cast that than this pile of garbage.
Or you can put him in a meme deck and it'll be funny.
Yes, that is his one selling point. He is the memeiest card ever.
No, he's not. Bobity's the memeiest card.
Maybe.
Oh, which reminds me, I'd rather cast Bobity having 6 freaking red energy than cast this pile of dog crap.
All right, so
Hey, look, that's all of our SRs, by the way.
Oh god, that thing is underwhelming.
And he doesn't kill them. He doesn't stop them from doing anything. He just slows them down a turn.
And the worst part of it is, even if you can't activate his Overrealm, he's just a 10-drop double striker.
Yep. And not only that, they can still activate their leader's skills, which, a lot of decks really like their leader's skills. Cell can still do crap ton of things with the leader only.
Mecha Frieza can just keep casting for.
Untap 2 blue energy. Hold up my coercions.
Champa can just flat out discard his hand and still give everything double strike. There are so many outs to this card. It's ridiculous. It's awful. Don't play it. Burn them.
If you cast a Fu, you're probably dying to a cop of that game.
No, a 1-drop Majin Buu.
Either or, they still hurt.
All right, so we just talked about an awful card. Let's talk about good cards. So at this point, we have
God.
So we're going to talk about 3 rare and undercards each that are amazing to cleanse our palate from Fu. So I think what we should do is just each talk about one briefly and then go back in a row.
Yeah.
Sure. Things complicated. Who's starting? Who wants to start?
I believe you start us off, since you are the host tonight.
Okay, I'm starting us off. Pulling up my list. Okay, first one I'm going to be talking about is blue. This is a 4-drop, 2 of them being blue, so relatively splashable. Right? It doesn't have any fancy Xeno evolves or EX evolves or anything like that, but it does have double strike, which is, obligatory but nice. And I should mention this is Final Explosion Vegeta. So he has an auto ability. At the end of the battle, after this card attacks, which is nice because you get to hit with that double strike first with pretty decent power. Place this card at the bottom of your deck, which is neat. There's not really anything you can do with that. It's probably the worst place you could put it, but that makes sense because that's the cost for this skill. Then choose any number of your opponent's battle cards for which their total adds up to 5 or less and KO them. This is blue. The way I describe this is it's Blue's Kale.
It's a poor man's Kale.
It is a poor man's Kale, which, you know what?
Also prevents you from decking yourself.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's a poor man's Kale, which, you know what? I'd take a poor man's Kale any day over a poor man's Foo. No, he's good, though. I still think it's a little hard to justify him over something like Mass Saiyan, but I can see the potential with this card. It's there.
It plays very nice with the other common, the Rebirth of Justice, that cheats it into play.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, on top of that, bounce another card on top of that. So you're effectively getting rid of a lot of the smaller things that they don't want back in their hand, and then you just murder everything else they want back in their hand.
It's not to mention you can play in a Vegito deck. You can just play in like the red Vegito deck.
Yes.
Kill, because you won't play like...
Didn't we just talk about how Vegito has a kind of bad mid game?
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, there's your answer.
Oops. Thanks, Christian.
Hey, no problem.
One day you'll ramp up to your Bobbin.
All right, Bryce, your turn.
All right, and this kind of coincides with the Dimension Breaker Mira, is Relentless Destruction Mira. It is a 3-drop, 5,000 combo cost for a 15k power, Overwhelm 3,
Not bad.
free. And then when you play this card using Overwhelm, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and places it in the drop area. This card is good.
On its own, it's good.
And especially if you're playing it with the Mira, they discarded a card, lost an energy, and lost a battle card in the process. And on top of that, you also get to trigger your Android 13 effect, whether it be the leader or the 7-drop, which is good.
Also, if you're playing like a mono black deck, it's still pretty good. There are a lot of different ways you can play this card, and he's just solid. I like him.
I actually like him over Gotenks. Because then...
Ooh, that's tough.
Because at the end of the day, it's a free discard effect. And especially if you're playing in the hand destruction deck, you think about it this way. Turn 3 at the absolute worst, you cast Cell Absorption. They discard 2 cards. Then you play this card, they discard another card.
The memes.
And then you bop them, and then you deny them more cards in the future turns.
All right, Christian, what do you think? Good?
Good.
I mean, there's not too much to say about it other than, hey, that's a good card.
It's more Miras for the Xeno Evolved Mira.
What do you got, Christian?
Let's start off with an awesome red card.
Ooh.
For one, an extra card. Unending Awakening. Counterattack. Negate the attack, then choose up to one of your Red Saiyan leader cards and gains plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn.
Oh my god. It's a Sensu Bean, but better.
I mean, it doesn't negate an attack. You have that, and it does give plus 5 for the rest of the turn. But it is strictly to a Red Saiyan.
I think Pan is strictly an Earthling, isn't she?
She's a Saiyan, but we can double check that because she's
All
the
right.
son of Gohan. So
At the very least, it works with the starter deck Goku leader.
Which I believe that leader is very underwhelming for what he does.
There is another red Goku leader, if I remember right, the one that like.
the one that's coming on the.
Oh, you mean
starter
that
deck.
garbage one from set
Yeah.
2?
Does it
You
work?
discard a card, you gain 5,000 for the trade.
Does it work with the draft box Vegeta?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that might work. And then maybe Pan. I'd assume it would work with Pan.
Well, Pan is a Saiyan, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go.
So and Pan's pretty good. So there's that. I mean, it's a freaking Sensu Bean on a negate. I kind of love it. I wish it wasn't restricted to just Saiyans and could be. I think
Saiyans at that.
I think the Saiyan restriction is what hurts it. I would have preferred it if it had just specified red leader. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. There's not a lot of great red leaders out there anyway right now.
Right. And red could use it.
That's probably why the extra card knows it. No, there's not a lot of good red leaders. I'll just strict myself to Saiyan.
All right, so we're moving back to me.
Yes.
Yes.
This one's kind of weird and wasn't something I saw coming. This is a 1-drop green Trunks, and it is a future Trunks with, would you say, one of the most interesting engine skills ever? Maybe?
I'll go over it.
When you play this card, remember it's a 1-drop, so you're playing it. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 Saiyan among them and add it to your hand. Then put the others in the drop. So here's the thing. First thing I noticed, it doesn't specify color at all.
No.
How many Saiyans are in the game? Like over 9,000?
Well, not that high, but
I mean, a good probably like 40% of all the cards released in the game are Saiyans.
well, that's because like 90% of them are reprints of freaking Son Goku.
Yes. There are so many Gokus, Vegetas, Trunks himself, all the new GT stuff, pretty much like all of it.
There is so many Gokus that it hurts.
There are so many ways you can fit this card into a deck, and it's a 1-drop, so it's super splashable. Gotenks? Oh no, Gotenks.
It gets your Gotenks.
Oh no, green-red Gotenks with this thing.
You can play him
No.
yellow
You play this in Starter Coup.
Starter Coup. There's so many things you can do with it. That's what I like. I love cards that you just look at this and the ideas just start flooding into your brain for jank.
Come on, Jacob.
And
The
that's
yellow.
why I like Mecha Frieza too, because it's a universally just all-around good leader that you could just build him however you want.
The yellow Saiyans are coming out.
Yeah. Every color has Saiyans now. Mass Saiyan and Bardock in black are Saiyans, aren't they? And Trunks, Xeno is.
I believe so.
Every color has Saiyans.
You
Done.
can grab your preordained.
You can
Trunks while
grab
filling
Kale
his
and
Dell
Khalifa.
cost.
Saiyan aliens.
There are so many things you can do with this. It's kind of ridiculous.
You can grab your Kaba.
You can grab.
All right, going into Broly. Done.
He can do Broly. Oh no, there's so many things you can do with this card. It's just all the opportunities it offers are kind of amazing.
Search for your 10-drop Vegito. I guess.
You could. You
Oh,
could.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
I mean, you could. All right, Bryce, what do you got?
All right. A lot of you probably reacted as much as I did for Haru Atake Majin straight from the Dragon Ball Heroes game. For those of you who didn't know at home, that she is a 3-drop, 1500 power with 5000 combo crit. We're already off to a great start. And
I played already.
It has 2 autos. When you play this card, place up to 2 cards from the top of your deck into the drop area. Then, when you play this card, if your opponent's leader is green or yellow, choose up to 4 of your energy and switch them to active mode.
Just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because if you see the meta that's running around right now, it's really good, especially against Starter Coup, and you could just even splash her on the sideboard, and she's a Dark Ritual.
all right, so here's the thing I gotta say right now. Best card in the entire set?
For a common, yeah.
Okay, so here's something I think we should specify that I was going to do earlier but forgot. We're picking personal preference cards that just interest us. We're not definitively picking the best cards in the set, though that card's the exception. Yeah.
I do find it interesting that your opponent's leader has to be green or yellow.
Hate on that Mecha Frieza, man. And Gotenks.
Yeah, it's Gotenks, Starter Coup. You got Mecha Frieza. You got the Son Goku, the original form, the yellow leader. That one will probably see play too.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, green just has.
Meta cooler.
But I mean, there's so many leaders that this card is good against.
All right. What about your next one, Christian?
I have another extra card here. To save a hopeful future, you pay 4, 3 green requirement, and active main choose up to 1 green battle card with energy cost of 5 or less in your drop area and play it.
Are you saying you're running?
100%.
Are you saying you're running 8 Kales now? Is
Sure.
that what you're saying? You can revive Kales, Khalifas. What are some good 5-drop? Tien? No, not Tiens.
Broly's strongest there is.
What are some good 5-drops in green?
You got the
Go
5-drops
Tanks.
or lower. Go.
Yup.
I'm done. Quit.
playing for one less, like his evolve.
And starter crew, you play him for free.
All right, so that's a pretty good card. Not much to say about it though, right?
Right, but you
there's some
still,
good.
You got a pretty big pool of choices with 5 or less cards.
You can
so-
revive cells, man.
A lot of good cards.
Cells.
Yeah, you can get back your unit absorb duders.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's got a lot of potential. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so back to me for my last choice, and this is the controversial one.
Oh, speaking of duders, lead us away.
So Bryce and I want to talk about this card. Specifically, I want to talk about it because I want your input. I want you to tell us if this card's good or not. Because Bryce, you're kind of on the meh, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the I can't wait to play this card and break it. So this card is one we've mentioned before. This is Planet M2. It is a 1-drop extra card that is a field card. It's 1 red, which is, in my opinion, the reason it's pretty good. It is very splashable.
And Mech Frieza just plays it for free.
Mech Frieza plays it for free, and it's splashable, and it's stupid. All right, so the first part of the skill you're only going to get if you're using Dr. Mew as your leader, which is one of the new leaders in the set.
Rip.
When this card is placed in your battle area, if your leader card is Dr. Mew, draw 1 card. So if you are playing it in the Dr. Mew deck, it's a 1-drop Buu that can't be nuked, which is cool. But most people are going to be playing it outside Dr. Mew, I do think.
You just play it in Mech Frieza, take a life, and call it a day. It's the same thing.
Yep. So second skill. This is the interesting part. Switch this card to rest mode with no cost, no like pay 1 to do it, anything like that. If it's your turn, choose up to one of your opponent's leader cards or battle cards, and it gets minus 5,000 for the duration of the battle. If a battle card's power falls to 0 or less, it is KO'd.
General Rildo does that too.
Yes. The reason I like this is it's easily spammable. I mean, we've mentioned the mech.
It's very good at killing Kappa.
It's very good at killing Kabbas and Majin Buus. It can be really good for, like, you just need to get over their leader just that one time for something.
It's really
can
good
help
at
with that.
handling the teeny 1-drops.
Mm-hmm. And you got to remember, you know, it's something you can use every turn, and there were few cards in the game that can remove it. And although this is very niche, it is not limited to once per turn. So you could,
If you found a way to untap it.
if you found a way to untap it, tap it, which I don't think there currently is anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong.
There is not.
That could be synergistic, or alternatively, you could just slap down another one and replace that one and activate it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some interesting things with this card. I see the potential, not necessarily as much as that Trunks I mentioned, but there's some interesting things you can do with it. Plus, you know, it helps slower decks that have to deal with their opponents, you know, already being awakened and you not being. And the reverse is true. If your opponent's stalling you and you're like, well, my leader is useless because it's a 10K and they're at 15K already, you could use this to help them push 2 numbers. There are a lot of interesting things with it, but that's really all I got to say. What do you guys think?
I feel like that it's very underwhelming for what it does, but this could be like one of those cards like similar to Full Power Energy that might see some tech in the sideboard.
Christian?
I would try it out. If it's splashable and you can just do a few, you know, like, oh no, you're stopping me from attacking you. I'm just gonna tap this for a moment.
Vegito runs it for the lols.
Oh no.
There are some interesting things.
Don't let your memes be dream.
No.
Follow your heart.
All right, so what's your last card, Bryce?
All right, my last one here, and I'm actually fairly excited for this card. I don't know about y'all. It's straight from the Steelio Girl Tribal of Majin Buu, Dawn of the Rampage, for the low cost of at least 1 blue energy, but the total cost is 4, 20K, 0-5,000 combo cost. It has unit absorb for 2. You place 1 battle card, doesn't matter which one. Underneath this card, choose up to 1 Awakening Evil Majin Buu from set 2, the red one, from your deck, and place it on top of this card, then shuffle your deck. It has hexproof, and then when this card is under a card, the Majin Buu on top of it also gains hexproof.
Which is just great.
Because what's also powerful about this is that you place this underneath the red Buu, you swing them with it, and they can't murder it. And then you place your Kid Buu on top of that one, and so you just start chaining through your deck all these Buu evolutions, and then eventually your opponent just dies.
Do you mean Boovolutions?
The most Buu evolutions.
All right. It's a good card. I like it.
And I do like it's only 1 blue as well, so it makes it extremely fairly nice with the colors.
Christian?
What I think about that card?
Yeah.
Seems like a fun meme.
Fun meme. That's all you got. All right. Do you have your final card?
I do. I have the new leader, Green Vegito, basically. It's pretty good. So he has 10,000 power when you on his backside. Auto, when this card attacks a leader card, draw a card. Simple.
Easiest draw one on an unflipped leader we have ever gotten.
You start gaining slow advantage there. And to awaken him, if your life is a 4 or less, you may choose up to 2 of your energy, switch them to active mode, flip this card over. So you don't get to draw, you get to flip 2 energy because you're already drawing a lot with this guy. And then when you have his front side, going all in, Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. He's a 15,000 power. He has a permanent skill of during your turn, if your opponent has no battle cards in their battle area, this card gains plus 5,000 power and double strike. Auto, when this card attacks, if draw 1, then if your opponent has 2 or less battle cards in this card gains plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn.
So basically, best case is a 25k double strike when flipped over.
I do like it as an aggro leader, though.
I see. We see 2 uses for it: just straight up aggro,
And mid-range.
no, and drafts. This is a great draft leader.
I do think he's kind of like the Cell of the draft leaders.
Yeah, he's just. I'm surprised at how generic he was, considering the other Vegito leader we've gotten is anything but generic.
Although this one is very good at what he does. He gets you value in the early games, and which is extremely hard to come by for a lot of leaders, especially the good ones. And then on top of that, he gets really buff and hits really hard on his backside.
Reminds me in that way, like with his curve there of strength of the Goku Black leader, that just generates a lot of advantage early on, though it's energy you're gaining, not card advantage. And then once he's awakened and he's got all his things, then he's down at 2 life. He just hits like a brick.
Although, unlike the Goku Black leader, I actually do feel like this one has potential to be seen on the competitive circuit.
Especially since it doesn't force you to use mono blue.
Well, on top of that, you think of all the upsides this card has. It's card draw on the front side, so even if they don't awaken you, you are still drawing cards every
Which was
turn.
always the biggest reason you stall someone out is, hey, they're not drawing cards.
And then on top of that, when you flip them over, you just hit it right on home. And especially with Kabas, you can play more Kabas after you swung with them a couple of times, in which case they probably already died in the process, but you just play more bodies that they can handle, and they just eventually die by turn 2. I feel like a lot of the Vegeta crit leaders are probably going to try this card out and see who they like more.
All right, so that actually wraps it up for this episode.
Although there's just kind of like one more card. It's more like an honorable mention.
Okay.
And I think we will all agree that this card will probably see play in the future. And that is the Topo card.
Topo.
The Lorax, the mightiest of the Dr. Seuss Saiyans.
It's a real good card.
Yes, it is indeed. If I can just pull it up here for a second. And there it is. The Pride and Justice Topo. 4-drop, costing at least 2 red. And then it's 0-5,000 combo cost. That has 20k power, and it has counterattack. that you negate the attack when you play this card, and if your opponent's leader has 15,000 or more power, reduce the energy cost of this card by 2. When this card KOs your opponent's battle card, switch this card to active mode. So I think this card is actually extremely playable. And I think you can all agree with me that this card will probably see play, if not in the main board, the sideboard of every single red deck.
He's pretty interesting.
I mean, I call it like cheaper Jiren because it's still the same cost. It's a 4, but he's a counter, so he could be a 2. And he does the same thing as Jiren, but without the extra power.
He's like that rare Goku, the blue one from set 2, that also counterplayed and did stuff like that, and reduced his own cost, but good.
Yes, I feel like he's kind of like the color-shifted version of Android 16. That, granted, he doesn't have Revenge and Blocker, he still is very good at what he does and get rid of your opponent's tapped-out creatures. It punishes the aggro decks for trying to beat you in the face. And a lot of Sensu Beans are flowing around, so this is also good in that aspect when they're trying to rev up their energies and whatnot, and then you just play this against them. It's like, well, fuck, here's a 20k guy that just machine guns my board on turn 2.
All right, well, that's wraps it up for this episode. Thanks for sitting through it. It was quite long, but great. And just reminder that Fu is awful.
I pity the Fu.
Thank you for joining us for this, Bryce. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a pleasure doing this with you.
And just want to remind everyone out there, check out our Discord. Join us in Discord. We will be talking about all these cards and showing off our deck list once we actually get cards, in our hands to mess with.
Well, I'm sure we'll still probably share our brood lists up there.
Check out our Instagram. It's Instagram. Check out our shop if you want to support this show financially, keep us going, and make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Anything I'm forgetting, Christian?
No.
And of course, no, there is one.
Okay.
Let us know what cards you love from the set.
There you go.
What are your favorite cards? Is your favorite card the weird Zamasu stuff we're getting in green? Do you really, really love the yellow apes? Do you think that... I'm trying to think of the worst card in the set that I could use as an example, but I keep coming back to Fu. Do you think Fu is the best card ever? Let us know.
I'll play Fu at least once just to mess around.
Yes. And that is it for us this time. So I'd say stay classy, y'all, but that just feels incredibly wrong.
It does.
No, especially the way you said it. There was some tension there.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to TCG Buzz. New episodes can be found on tcgbuzz.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For box openings, deck profiles, and more, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.